Good morning, students. Welcome back to my channel. Today in this video I am going to revise this chapter again because that most of you have not understood this chapter very well, so that's why I am going to revise the chapter again. This chapter, that is chapter number 5, sentences simple, compound and complex. So, first of all, we had discussed in the first chapter, that is sentence and its kind. There are four kinds of sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative, and exclamative. But now in this chapter, it will teach us the structure of the sentence, that how we make the sentence on the basis of structure. Well, these types of sentence, there are three types of sentences: simple, compound, and complex. So first of all, we will discuss simple sentence, then after that compound, then last complex sentence. So before discussing the types of sentence, we have to we have to we have to already we have already know we should already know about the chapter, the topic, that is the clause. And the clause that I had already uh, explained in the video, and all the video, if you have not watched it, then you will go through my channel and there you will get the video uh, of the topic, that is the clause. Simple sentence. Simple sentence, first of all, here you can see the example it is given. Mohit sat in the park. So first thing that we should always keep in mind when we have to identify the sentence, whether the sentence is simple sentence, compound sentence and complex sentence. The first important thing about the simple sentence, that this sentence, whether this sentence it should be lengthy or short, it doesn't matter. What does it matter? That this sentence it had finite verb. If the sentence had finite verb, then it is the high chances that this sentence is a simple sentence. The definition, that if I say the definition, it can be that is a sentence which had only one finite verb is called simple sentence. So that important thing that we should always remember, that if a sentence had only one finite verb, that sentence is called simple sentence. Another example, you see Mohit sat in the park on the wooden bench near the river, not noticing the frog near his feet. So here this sentence, it might be long, okay, and it is not necessary that a simple sentence is always small. It might be long. We should always be careful while finding the verb. If the sentence it had only one finite verb, then this sentence is simply simple sentence. And it doesn't matter whether the sentence may have two subjects or the sentence may have two objects. Okay, what does it matter? That all the sentence, if the sentence had only one finite verb, we can simply say that this sentence is called simple sentence. Now let's see the page number 224, compound sentence and coordinate clause. So first of all, before we starting discussing compound sentence, we have to make sure that we know already what is the clause. Well, the clause, there are two types of clause. First is independent clause. The another name of independent clause is coordinate clause, or main clause, principal clause. So many names, but their work is same. Now another types of clause is called subordinate clause. The clause that is not independent, and this clause always dependent on its the main clause. Now see the example. Kavita sat in the park and the children played on the swing. This is a long sentence, but it had two clauses, because the clauses, as we had discussed, that the clauses it had subject, verb and the phrase. And these are the two clauses that joined by the coordinating conjunction and. that joined by the conjunction and two separate clauses that we can find in the sentence. First is Kavita sat in the park, and the next clause is the children played on the street. Each clause is of equal importance and makes complete sense. And in another other word, we can say these clause these are the independent clause, and it does not dependent on the another clause. That is why these clauses are called main or principal clause. And the definition of this clause: a sentence which has two or more main clause is called a compound sentence. We could also write the clauses as two separate sentences. If we and all these sentence, if it makes sense, then that means these clauses are the independent clause. Another word we can say coordinate clause. Now, last, that is complex sentence and subordinate clause. Now, first of all, compound sentence: when there is two or more clauses in a sentence, okay, in a single sentence, when there is two or more main clauses, it is called compound sentence. Now, complex sentence, the definition of the complex sentence: when there is only one principal clause but two or more subordinate clause, that sentence is called complex sentence. Now, how do we identify whether which sentence is complex sentence? Well, see the example. Kavita sat in the park because it was pleasant. So, above sentence, it had two finite verbs, that is sat and was. So, there are two clauses in the sentence. First is Kavita sat in the park. Second is because it was pleasant. Now, as you can see, the first example, Kavita sat in the park, it is clause A, it is independent clause, and it did because it makes complete sense. This clause is called principal clause. While as you can see the clause example B, that is because it was pleasant, that makes sense, but it does not make complete sense. So it cannot stand on its own independent sentence until and unless we can add this clause to join it to the principal clause. Then it can convey full meaning. So clause B will be called subordinate clause. Subordinate means the thing which is under control by someone or something. That sentence is called complex sentence. Now there are some subordinate clause. We simply identify if we see some subordinating conjunction like that, when, after, whenever, while, till, since, where, as, so that, if, unless, though, although, and so on. These type of subordinating conjunction, when we see in the sentence, we can simply identify that this sentence is called complex sentence. The definition of this sentence: that the complex sentence, it is a sentence which is made up of principal clause or main clause and one or more subordinate clause is called complex sentence. So that is the difference between simple sentence, compound sentence, and complex sentence. Another most important thing about that, compound sentence, simple sentence, it had only one finite verb. Compound sentence, there is two or more main clauses, it is called compound sentence. And in complex sentence, there is only one principal clause and one or more subordinate clause is called complex sentence. Thank you.